Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live host by me, Mr. Philly. And today we're discussing, our favorite author. I did a live last time, about my favorite chocolate. Not my favorite chocolate. I did a live about Dubai chocolate, and if you haven't watched it, go back and watch my live. It's really amazing, actually. So yeah. So anyway, we're talking about our favorite author, and it's gonna be a really good live, actually. So yeah. Guys, stick around. We have a lot of great content coming, and great discussions coming and everything like that. Stick around. You want to watch this live? We probably have some interesting discussion, minus the trolls, actually. So yeah. So anyway, my favorite author, I've discussed this many times, actually. My favorite author is Stephen King, actually. He's a great horror masterpiece. He probably won the Bram Stoker Award. I'm assuming Bram Stoker Award, and the Bram Stoker Award is somebody who actually wins an award who's, a master of horror. He is a master of horror. He does a really good job. But I think he actually does a really good job, other shows, actually. Other stories, like the Shawshank Redemption is not actually a horror story. It's actually a prison movie, and he did a really good job. So he's a mastermind, actually. But at the same time, I've strayed away from him, the last few years, and I've noticed that he's good at creating great atmospheres of horror. He's really great at creating good ghost stories. He's really good at creating monsters, but he's not really the best at finishing movies. You know what I mean? He's not the best at finishing stories, basically. You know what I mean? He could do better. There's some that he did do really well, but there's a lot that he did not do really well. So, my favorite author is before him and he predates Stephen King is Edgar Allan Poe, actually. Edgar Allan Poe is my favorite author of all time. I've read a lot of his books. I've read a lot of his short stories. He's amazing, actually. He talks a lot about eerie atmospheres. Eerie atmospheres back in the day when he was alive was, being buried alive, actually. And he writes a lot about that. And he actually writes a lot about people burying other people alive, for revenge. And he writes about people being buried alive and not knowing they're buried alive. He writes, and he's actually really amazing. He's really deep and dark, but he's also a lot of old English words, actually. A lot of old English words, actually. It's really hard to read them, But if you can pass that and you get the gist of it, then you would actually love him. He's an amazing writer, actually, and he has written great poems, actually, poems that are actually not even associated with horror. Actually, he's wrote some really good poems, actually. So that's why I love him so much, actually. He's a phenomenal writer. He's a phenomenal masterpiece. He's a horror writer. He should have won the Bram Stoker Award, and Master Horror Writer. I mean, he is the old original version of Stephen King. We had Edgar Allan Poe, and now we have Stephen King, actually. So that's the way I treat him, you know? I mean, like, there's a short story that I know of that he read that was really, really amazing. Oh, I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys, but it was really, really amazing, actually. And it was about a person who is engaged to this woman, and some weird stuff happens. And I'm not going to tell you that. If you've not read it, you need to change that immediately. Actually, I mean, like the short story that I read. Actually, he wrote a significant amount of short stories. Then, one of his short stories that that I love so much that I would say that I would have loved so much. Hello, Malfoy. How you doing? How you doing? And the Gold Bug was a great read, and that would be a great watch. That this needs to be turned into a film. If nobody's turned or trying to turn it into a film, then they need to change that immediately. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where it is. Edgar Allan Poe, great read, great author. Most of his movies should be turned. Most of his books should be turned into movies. You know what I mean? I mean, he is a master of horror, actually, aside from Stephen King. In some way, better. And that's why I actually consider him my favorite author, actually, because he came before Stephen King, He was alive way, way before, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So anyway, how's everybody going? All right, so there's that. I was rambling on a little bit. The floor is your guys's. Who is your favorite author? Tell me why it is, and tell me who you think is your favorite author, and tell me what books that should be made into movies and all that fun stuff. The floor is your guys's. The floor is you guys's. Questions, concerns, comments, or anything like that. I love to hear about it. I love to hear about it. Thank you so much. So anyway. I wish we had more time. We don't have that much time for this live, but I mean, like, whatever you guys want to talk about, I'd love to hear about it. And I think this is a really, really good topic to talk about, though. So yeah, I mean, if you have any comments to talk about, grow up reading many books, but I need to do more of that, and the people that I did read were very, very interesting. They were classic, and Edgar Allan Poe is one of those people, actually, and that's who I actually fantasize, and that's people that I actually have so much respect for. You know what I mean? So yeah, Stephen King and Edgar Allan Poe. So there you go. Those are my people, actually. Anybody else have any favorite authors? That I'd love to hear about it, because I will definitely do some research about it. I love a good ghost story. I love a good horror story with a good script or a good book base. You know what I mean? So that's what I like, actually. As long as it has a good script, you know what I mean? There's certain things that I do not like, but if it has a good script, that's going to overpower a lot of things, actually. I want to see a good script or a good, book outline. As long as it has a good book outline, that I can read and there's not too much bull crap in there, you know what I mean? It's easy to follow and all that fun stuff, and like, you get into it. If I feel like I'm watching a movie, I like to read books where I feel like I'm watching a movie, you get right to the point. That's what's gonna happen. This is that this. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's it. Because I don't like overly descriptive things. And I know writers do that because that's what writing is about. Being descriptive in a lot of things, actually, and that's why I failed at comprehensive things. But like in high school, blah blah blah. But like. I want somebody who's descriptive, but gets the point of what they're talking about. And Darcy Coast is one of those people, actually. So yeah, that's what I like. Hey, hello. How you doing? How you doing? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Malfoy, how you doing? I'm sure it is hard to choose a favorite, and it was hard to choose a favorite for me too, actually. So yeah. But anyway, so getting back to it, Ketos. No, you're on my live, actually. So this is my show, not your show, actually. So I mean, somebody's telling me that this is their show, but not my show, actually. So yeah, no, this is my show. I mean, like, this is I'm gonna talk about what I want. I'm gonna do what I want, actually. So yeah, hello, Shiloh, how you doing? How you doing? But another thing, another great read. The Gold Bug was a great read by Stephen King. By Edgar Allan Poe. But he also wrote. You're on my channel, actually, not yours. Did you know that? Oh no, drunk dizzy. How you doing? How you doing? We're talking about our favorite author. Whoever author that you if you guys read, or you guys are avid readers, if you got read books, anything that you've ever read that you've actually liked, tell me about your favorite author. You know what I mean? Oh, Stephen King. We just talked about that. That's my second favorite writer. My first one is Edgar Allan Poe. You know what I mean? Stephen King. That has been brought up many many times actually in the past actually. So there you go. Boy, there you go. Oh no, why are you apologizing, drunk dizzy? Why are you apologizing? Oh dear. Here we go. Some troll, obviously. He's about to get blocked, that's for sure. There's this place called CVS Pharmacy, or is this place called your work wherever you work. They usually have gauze, or anybody in the hospital would have one, or a doctor clinic would have one too. So I mean, like, why you're asking me this is beyond my jurisdiction. You know what I mean? Hello, Funsky. How you doing? How you doing? Who's your favorite author? Anybody who reads books, or is an avid reader. I would love to talk about your books that you read, or what. Anybody that has read a book or has read, sporadically. I would love to hear about your. I'd love to hear about your favorite book. I mean, like, it might be something that I've never read. I'd love to get more into books. S.C. Hamilton, S.C. Hamilton. I love to hear about that. No, thank you very very much. Actually, goodbye. So the floor is your guys's. Tell me your favorite author. Tell me your favorite author who has read good books, or wrote good books. And there's one other thing that I actually have not discussed. Actually, my other favorite author that I do like, actually, so well, actually, Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens is really really good. And, he's non-horror, and the reason why I like him is actually he grew up in England, where child labor was legal, and when people, when there was rich and poor, there was no gap in between actually. And he actually grew up in a time, yeah, when he saw people and children were starved and beaten and tortured, because they were poor, basically. You know what I mean? So yeah, he grew up in that time actually, in England or Britain. You know what I mean? But every book that he's ever read, including The Christmas Carol, which is a cultural phenomenon, ends really, really well. Actually, he's phenomenal at making an ending that makes it really well, and it's actually based on masterpiece truth. Actually, so Charles Dickens, he's probably my third favorite author, actually. Charles Dickens is a phenomenal writer, and every ending that he's ever written ends really well, actually. He did a really good job on Ebenezer Scrooge. He did a really good job on A Tale of Two Cities. He did a really good job on everything he's ever written, actually. I've not read all of his books, but he did a really, really good job, actually. I love that he has a solid ending on every book that he's ever written, actually. So yeah, because he grew up in a very very hard time in England or Great Britain. You know what I mean? So there you go. So there you go. That's the only non-horror fiction writer that I've known, that I've read, that I know of, that I love. I love so much, and you'll never see a writer like him again. I hope that we will in our generation, but we probably won't. You know what I mean? Anyway, Oh, why is nobody on? I suck. I suck. I suck. I- So anyway, questions, concerns, comments, or anything like that. Who's your favorite author? Who's your favorite author that wrote a great book or anything like that? I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear questions, concerns, comments, or anything like that associated with it. The floor is your guys's. The floor is your guys's. The floor is your guys's. Questions, concerns, comments, or anything like that. All that I ask is you please be respectful or anything like that. And talk about your favorite writer. You know what I mean? Or favorite author, favorite book, things like that, actually. People ask me actually, do you want to be here? Do you want to be a social media influencer? Yes, I do, actually. And the answer to that question is yes. Yes to everything. Do you want to look professional? Do you want to do what you need to do? Do you want to actually influence people? Do you want to make money? Do you want to do all those things actually? Yes. And the answer is yes to all those questions actually. And that's why I'm here actually. I'm here to influence people for good things, actually. I'm here to influence people who actually cook and cook delicious food, who want to take inspiration from my recipes or anything like that. And, I want to look professional and I want to be professional. I want to professionally influence other people who actually want to do the same thing, actually. So, yeah. Oh, crap. So, yeah, the floor is your guys'. Your favorite author, and, elaborate on that. And, we'd love to have a discussion on that. So, yeah. Tell me your favorite author, if you read or anything like that. Or so we'll see how that goes. But I guess then none of my peeps on that read that much. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm trying to get that. I sure did cut my hair. Yes, absolutely. I've cut my hair a long time ago. So yeah. Oh, thank you. Wait, may I ask, have you been here for a while? And are you I don't remember your name or anything like that, but have you been subscribed for a very long time? No, I'm just asking, like, have you been subscribed to me for a while or what? Or if I may ask. Oh no, are you new? How long have you been subscribed to me? if I may ask. Hello, Jake. How you doing? Hi, how you doing, Jake? Nice to see you. The floor is yours. Talk about your favorite author, your favorite books, or things like of that nature. Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Are you subscribed? Do you like what you see? If you don't, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Actually, I'm just asking. But yeah, I mean, like, my thing is actually, like, if you like what you see, then subscribe. If you don't like what you see, then don't subscribe. I actually had multiple emails telling me, this, that, and then that, this. I love the constructive criticism, which is fine, actually. But when somebody insults me, like insults how I look and body shames me and all this fun stuff, like, well, how am I supposed to take that? Like, that's not very nice to do that to people, actually. That's not very, very nice at all, actually. Like, it tells me my food looks good, but like I look like shit or anything like that. That's rude. That's very, very rude, actually. I wouldn't body shame anybody else, you're guessing somebody else's channel. That's it. That's the end of it. You know what I mean? So like you tell them, don't do this or don't do that, that's totally fine. But when somebody does, just continuously body shames me, that's a problem. They don't like the way that I look or anything like that, well, then you're on the wrong channel. Then you're on the wrong channel, you know what I mean? That's it. And that's the end of it, you know? But anyway, anybody have any questions, concerns, comments, or anything like that? I'd love to hear about it. I love the conversations and I love answering them as much best that I can. You know what I mean? So yeah. Ashlyn. Oh, thank you. You're my 14th like today, actually. I had one dislike and I had 14 loves, including you, actually, from people that I work with, actually. So everybody tells me that I should actually keep the mustache. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely keep it then. So there it goes, actually. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it very, very much, actually. So yeah. So, you want to put your input on your favorite author or anything like that? Love to hear about it. I'd love to hear about it. So that would be amazing. I'm doing a live and I normally cook on my live. Actually, I love to cook and I want to be an aspiring chef. I normally on my, regular lives I do, a conversation. I want to talk about my your favorite author, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing a live about your favorite author. If you got anybody that reads, you know what I mean? If you read, I would love to hear about your favorite author, or your favorite book. You know what I mean? Greetings, how are you? So yeah, I'm doing a live and just wanting to hear people's input about their favorite author, or writer, something like that. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, Ashlyn. Gordon Kemp Kerman, oh wow. Oh, I've never heard about that. I've never heard of them. I'll have to definitely look that up, You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see. Thomas Gray, how you doing? Oh, that's one of my favorites too, actually. And I talked about that in the early live. He is my second favorite. He is my second favorite, actually. So yeah, well, it's pretty interesting that I've actually had like three people that actually said Stephen King, actually. So yeah, that is very, very interesting. So yeah, Stephen King is a well-renowned person. He won the Bram Stoker Award for best horror. He's really, really good. And I'm not going to deny that. But my favorite of all time, he's number two. Stephen King is number two. But my favorite of all time, Edgar Allan Poe. I grew up reading old books and old school Saints books. You know what I mean? So yeah, Edgar Allan Poe is one of those people actually. So yeah, it's really interesting, and I'd love to hear everybody else, their input about that. Phenomenal writer, phenomenal suspense writer. I mean, like if he was alive today, I think he would be more popular than Stephen King. Actually, he's the Stephen King of the old golden age. You know what I mean? Hello, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Is that so, huh? Hi, how you doing? Oh dear. What the hell do you mean by that? Oh, absolutely, absolutely. No, I mean, like, I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. Tell me what book series are you talking about? The new or the old? What book series? You know what I mean? No, I did not. No, I did not. Hello, how you doing? How you doing? There, football. How you doing? Football. I never played football in high school, but I mean, I did. I was never on a team. I probably should have actually enforced myself on a team actually. So yeah. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Freedom. That's what I breathe in, actually. you know, how's everybody doing? Is everybody having a good night? I hope everybody's having a good night. I hope everybody's having a good weekend or anything like that. And that's it. Any fun plans for the weekend or anything like that? I love hanging out with you guys. I love your hood. I love answering questions, the questions that I can answer, anything like that. I love chilling with you guys. That's it. How you doing? How you doing? My name is not Jeffrey, by the way. Not in any way, shape, or form. Actually, you're way off. Actually, so yeah, you're absolutely wrong. But I love chilling with you guys, though. I love chilling with you guys. And I love talking about food. I love talking about recipes or anything like that. Who's your favorite author? That's the $1 million question that we're asking tonight. Hmm. Oh dear. I have no idea what you're talking about. My name is not even close to Jeffrey, actually. So yeah, but you can believe what you want. That's totally fine. And I hope you like and subscribe to my channel. And that's it. That's the end of it.